I'm mainly addressing to the people online because the others are in front of me. And sorry, we are a little late, but not that late, so everything is okay. And have the first presenter of the paper, the paper about Wasserstein statistic is present online. Our session is about transport information geometry, and it will be a full online session. I mean, the presenter will be all online. It's like I am in a movie theater, so I introduce the first movie. From Amari and Matsuda about Wasserstein statistics in one-dimensional location scale models. And so we now run the video and the question will be asked at the end. Thank you. So few manipulation, no problem. How many minutes we have for the questions?
Thank you for viewing this talk. I'm Takeru Matsuda from Riken Center for Brain Science in Japan. This is a joint work with Professor Amari. Here is the abstract. In statistics, many estimators can be interpreted as the projection with respect to some divergence. For example, the maximum likelihood estimator, MLE, can be viewed as the projection with respect to the Kalber-Kraiber divergence of the data distribution. So in general, we have data and we project the data distribution to the statistical model by using some divergence measure to obtain some parameter estimates. In this study, we focus on projection with respect to the Wasserstein distance. We call it W-estimator. And we study the property of W-estimator for one-dimensional location scale models. Okay, so here is the problem setting. So we have n independent samples from probability distribution P with unknown parameter theta. So we want to estimate theta by using some estimator theta hat, which is the function of the data x1 to xn. For example, the maximum likelihood estimator, MLE, is defined like this. So it maximizes the log likelihood of data. MLE can be viewed as the projection with respect to the Kalber-Kraiber divergence. So the Kalber-Kraiber divergence is defined like this. And from the observed data, we define the empirical distribution like this P hat. Then MLE satisfies this property. So it minimizes the Kalber-Kraiber divergence from the empirical distribution P hat to the model distribution P theta. So in information geometry, it is called the M projection. So in this way, the maximum likelihood estimator can be interpreted as projecting the data distribution, empirical distribution to model distribution by using the Kalber-Kraiber divergence from the geometric point of view. Now we consider Wasserstein distance. So in general, the L2 Wasserstein distance between two probability distribution P1 and P2 on the Euclidean space RD is defined like this. So it is the optimal transportation cost from P1 to P2. So here we take infimum over all joint distributions of x1, x2, where the x1, the marginal distribution of x1 is P1, and the marginal distribution of x2 is p2. So such joint distribution of x1, x2 is called the coupling of p1 and p2. And by taking infimum over all couplings of p1 and p2, we can define the optimal transportation cost from p1 to p2. And this is called the Wasserstein distance. In one dimension, the L2 Wasserstein distance is obtained in closed form. So define capital P1 and capital P2 to be the cumulative distribution function of P1 and P2. Then by using these distribution functions, the L2 Wasserstein distance is written like this. So intuitively, this figure shows the transportation from P1 to P2. So here we have two distribution functions, and for each value of u between 0 and 1, we transport each value of x to corresponding value of x, like this horizontal way. So this monotone map is shown to be the optimal coupling between P1 and P2. So here the optimal coupling is deterministic and written like this. So in this way, in one-dimensional case, we can write down the L2 Wasserstein distance in closed form explicitly. Okay, so now we consider W-estimator as the projection with respect to the Wasserstein distance. So we define W-estimator by this formula. So it is the minimizer of L2 Wasserstein distance from the empirical distribution P hat to the model distribution P theta. So the correspondence is like this table. So for Kalba-Kleiber divergence, its projection defines MLE. So corresponding to that, we consider projection with respect to the Wasserstein distance and call it W-estimator. So it seems that statistical property of W-estimator is not fully investigated. So there are several studies investigating the statistical property of this W-estimator. For example, the consistency of this estimator has been shown by this paper. So here we focus on the concrete case of one-dimensional location scale models to investigate the statistical property of this W-estimator. So here is the definition of the one-dimensional location scale models. So this model has two parameters, mu and sigma. Mu is called the location parameter, and sigma is called the scale parameter. So like this figure, the mu specifies the location of the distribution P theta, and the sigma specifies the scale of the distribution. And here, small f is the probability density function with mean 0 and variance 1, such as the standard Gaussian distribution. So from this property, the mean of this px theta is mu, and the variance is sigma square. For this model, we can explicitly write down the W-estimator in this way. So here, these values are order statistics of the observation x1 to xn. And small k and small z are defined from the base distribution f. So we can see that the W-estimator of mu is the arithmetic mean of observation x. On the other hand, the W-estimator of sigma, scale parameter, is a linear combination of order statistics like this. So in statistics, such a linear combination of order statistics is called the L statistics. The proof of this theorem is like this. So from this property of Wasserstein distance in one dimension, we can explicitly write down the optimal coupling of p hat, empirical distribution p hat, and model distribution p. And by using that optimal coupling, we can calculate the L2 Wasserstein distance like this. And finally, we obtain this decomposition with respect to mu and sigma. So each term for mu and sigma are convex functions. Therefore, it is minimized by taking the derivative to 0. And we obtain these two values, these minimizers. So in this way, we obtain this theorem. So it holds for any location scale models in one dimension. Also, by using that formula, we derived the asymptotic distribution of W-estimator. So the W-estimator is square root n consistent, and it has asymptotic normality. Also, the asymptotic variance, covariance of this W-estimator is given by this. So here, M3 and M4 are moments of F, like this. So for the proof of this theorem, please see the paper. So it uses the functional delta method in asymptotic statistics theory, which is based on Donsgaard's theorem and L statistics theory. From this theorem, we found that the W-estimator is Fisher efficient. It attains the Cramér-Rao bound for Gaussian distributions. So by substituting the moment of Gaussian distribution of 3 and 0, we find this. However, for general model, W-estimator is not Fisher efficient, whereas the MLE is Fisher efficient. Here is the simulation result for Gaussian case. So this figure plots the ratio of mean squared error of W-estimator and MLE for Gaussian model. So we can see that the MSE ratio converges to 1 as the sample size n increases. So this convergence indicates that the W-estimator has the same mean squared error with MLE. And it means that the W-estimator is Fisher efficient in this case. On the other hand, this is the case of uniform distribution. So the F is defined like this. So here, because F should have a variance 1, the support of this uniform distribution is from minus square root 3 to square root 3. And in this case, this plots the mean squared error of W-estimator and MLE. And we can see that the decay rate of mean squared error is faster for MLE compared to W-estimator. So in this case, W-estimator only attains square root n consistency, while MLE, the convergence of MLE is faster. Okay, so in this study, we considered W-estimator, which is the projection with respect to the Wasserstein distance. And we derived the asymptotic distribution of W-estimator for one-dimensional location scale models. In particular, it is Fisher efficient in Gaussian case. As a future problem, we want to investigate whether the W-estimator has some advantage over MLE. And also, we want to study W-estimator in more general models. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for the talk. And we are going to have a short question because it's only 20 minutes per presentation, questions included. I have to speak louder. So is there any question? So I try to look at the chat. So there is no questions, and I think the talk was already taking the 20 minutes.
Do you have any questions for him?
No.
You don't have any questions?
No,
Okay.
no.
So, Mr. Matsuda is connected, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask him. He will answer live.
As a specialist of the Wasserstein metric in the session, so I give them the priority.
Okay, and
so I can ask a question. How do you think your method will perform when the dimension of your problem tends to infinity?
So are you asking about the high dimension case?
Yes.
So
Dimension D is a parameter which tends to infinity. How
thank you.
The method will converge, with which rate will converge as a function of D.
So currently, we use the fact that the Wasserstein distance can be obtained in closed form when one dimension. So even in two dimension, it is difficult to obtain the optimal transport explicitly. So currently, we are not certain about such high dimension case.
But you have made some experiments, if it's possible.
So you mean simulation?
Yes, simulation to see at which rate it will converge to the optimal.
Thank you. So yeah, we could try such simulation in high dimension. Yeah, but I'm not sure we can compute the optimal transport in high dimension even in simulation. So yeah, that is a future work.
You can see how it is going to stabilize. You establish that the limit is optimal, but you can see how converge to something.
So sorry, so what do you mean?
No, I mean, you don't need to compare with the optimal. You just look at how it converges to something. And then you prove afterward that it's the optimal solution, but you don't need to know already the optimal solution to compare how fast you converge to something.
I see. Yeah, thank you. We could try that. Yeah.
okay.
So that's a problem. Sorry. So
We have a question from the audience.
We have a question.
Hello, many thanks for your very nice talk. I don't have a question, I just have a comment. If you look at the paper here, my name is Wolfgang Stummer. This afternoon I will give a talk where I extend the explicit formula for the Wasserstein distance to more or less all Bregman distances and even beyond to scale Bregman distances. So it might be a start for future work. So maybe have a look. So the Wasserstein distance will be a special case of what I'm presenting this afternoon at around 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Have a look at the paper. There is a paper in there. It's called Transport with Directed Distances. Okay.
might be
Okay,
late,
thank you.
it might be late for you, but it's a rendezvous. Okay. So thank you for this talk, and we are applause for the first talk of the first session of the day. It was a terrible burden. And did very well. Now we have a second talk